Why are you here? 95% of success in life as a leader comes from just simply showing up. But I'm observing right now that there are financial brand leaders who are just simply, they're going through the motions. They're just getting through the day. And that is a very dangerous thing. It is dangerous for themselves. It's dangerous for their teams. And yes, it is dangerous for their organizations. It's dangerous for their bank and their credit union. Now, sure, maybe these leaders, they're feeling tired. They're feeling burned out from all the changes that have transpired over the past few years. If we look back, we had COVID, the COVID experience. We had and still have the economy. We have now AI, but change is not going to stop. And maybe this is exactly how you feel right now. Maybe you feel tired. Maybe you feel burned out, frustrated, overwhelmed, which is why I just want you to take a breath, and I want you to pause, and I want you to ask yourself, why are you here? Why do you do what you do as a financial brand leader? And why are you listening to or watching this podcast right now?
You're listening to the Banking on Digital Growth podcast.
Welcome back to the Banking on Digital Growth podcast. I'm James Robert Lay, founder and CEO of the Digital Growth Institute, where we help financial brands uncover their biggest marketing and sales blind spots so that they can quickly stop losing loans and deposits. Now, you might be watching or have listened to this podcast for a while, and I'm curious. Are you curious to learn more where your biggest marketing and sales blind spots are for your bank, for your credit union, or for your fintech? If you are, visit www.digitalgrowth.com/benchmarks to see how your performance compares to other financial brands. And once you schedule your 30-minute blind spot benchmark call, we're going to walk you through some key benchmark findings so that you know exactly where your blind spots are costing you millions in loans and deposits because of marketing and sales gaps that you can't see. Now, joining me for today's conversation, which is part of the Practical Perspective series, is Audrey Kanata, our operations lead here at the Digital Growth Institute. Welcome to the show, Audrey. It is always good to share time with you.
You as well. Thank you.
Well, today I know we're going to be talking about a bit of an existential question. Why are you here? Why are you listening? Why are you watching right now? And that's being driven from some recent experiences and data that we have gathered through our different engagements. But before we get too far into answering the existential question, what is going well for you right now, personally or professionally? It's your pick to get started on a positive note.
Yeah, so this is kind of personal. I haven't even shared this with you yet, but you know that I had just come up on my 800th class at F45, and last week we had a visiting coach come in from California, F45. So she just came into the Houston area and she was popping in and out of different studios, and she came to our studio last week, and man, she kicked our butts. And let me tell you, so we do box jumps there.
Oh,
and there box jumps. I have scars, literally scars from box jumps and mental scars from box jumps. And there's 3 different levels you can do. And I'm like steady on the second level.
Yep.
Not a problem. I can hang out there all day. Well, so she jumped up next to me and she was doing box jumps with me, and she gets off and she kind of motions to me. She's like, turn it up. And I look at her like she's crazy.
Flip the box.
And she's like, no, go to the third one. You can do it. And I was like, no, are you kidding me? I am not trying to bust my butt here. And she just kind of talked me through it, and I hit it very first time. Never tried it, never gone that high. Did it again a few times. And it was just nice to have, and I love my coaches that are there every day, but somebody came in who didn't know me. She saw potential. She saw that there was some skill there, and she pushed me to do something that I never would have done. And so it was just a really fun experience to have that. And I do have it on video.
Well, I got to see this, because when you said box jumps, I got a little queasy in my stomach. I remember we used to have to do those in basketball. And
Yes.
it's a great, I mean, it's fantastic for explosion. And I mean, you're getting your
For
quads.
basketball, for sure.
Exactly. You're getting your quads, your glutes. I mean, you're getting some of that fast muscle twitch in your calves. I mean, it really is just an overall great workout. But you said something that I want to surface. And really, I think it just loops into today's conversation.
Oh, interesting.
You had someone from the outside come in and challenge you.
Yeah.
You had someone from the outside.
I didn't like it at first, I'm
You-
going to say.
Well, you're resistant. You were
Like,
resistant.
back up.
You didn't like it.
No.
You're resistant to change, but you were open to trying. You were open to learning, and you were open to even failing and maybe scratching up your shins.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, and I've experienced this with you, I might roll my eyes at a challenge and get frustrated and be just annoyed with it, but I certainly won't turn one down. That's just something I can't do. And I've been challenged a lot here, I will say, in a good way.
And, I continue to challenge myself. I continue to challenge others. I challenge those that we work with. But I think there's a disturbing pattern that you've picked up on, that I've picked up on, that we'll probably start having some more conversations around, because it's just something in my gut says if we don't address this, the future of the industry, the future of financial brands, specifically community financial brands, particularly in a period of exponential change as we are in right now and have been. And I get it. A lot of leaders are tired. They are exhausted. They are spent. They are burned out. I understand it. But the only way forward is forward. The only way up is up. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. And through some recent engagements that we've facilitated, there are some troubling patterns, and maybe even a disconnect between the perception of what individuals and teams perceive that will lead to growth, when in reality there's a whole other path. Because you and I have talked a lot about this, and maybe we can unpack this more, the connection between personal growth and professional growth. That's one of the things that we have heard is positive feedback for organizations that go through the Banking on Digital Growth program. They're like, oh, I didn't realize how much I was going to grow personally through this experience.
Yeah,
Why?
you actually had.
Why?
Why don't they realize it? Or why
Yeah,
don't they anticipate that personal change?
correct.
Um, well, I mean, my guess is that they haven't experienced it before
Mm,
in their professional life. They really have been kind of living this separated personal, professional. They haven't had, or they haven't been given the opportunity to see how those can be intertwined and really feed off of each other. I feel genuinely grateful that I have had that opportunity, and it's largely due to just this environment that we're in, that I've been able to see that firsthand. But I didn't have that for the first 10 years, 13 years of my professional working world, really. It wasn't until I came here for tour number 2
well, that was
that
a
I saw
problem.
those together.
I was the problem. I was the problem for the first tour, because I didn't know enough about myself to then be able to help make a positive impact for others, first and foremost internally. And that personal growth, that personal development, I do believe it is a multiplying effect, because when you start to grow, others around you, you want them to
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah. I mean, I will be completely honest with you, James Robert, I don't know that I've ever said it this bluntly before, but that first tour that I was there for 3 years or so, fresh out of college, I was definitely chasing the weekend for sure. I did not have a major I mean, I liked our organization. I loved our team. I love the things that we were doing, but my personal and professional world were so separated
Mm.
completely. And there were times where I was like, "Oh, it's the weekend," or "Oh, it's Sunday night. I got to go back to work."
What's changed? Maybe maybe for you, what's changed maybe at a macro level, because I do see that there's almost two worlds that are forming right now. There are those that are integrating the work life experience to
Mhm.
where that they don't feel like they have to be someone different at home versus someone in the professional sense. They're just able just to be themselves, where there are others who are still checking the personal and professional. There's still a line, and there might be, you know what, I'm just here, I'm just waiting for the weekend. What's changed?
I mean, honestly, I think that's one of the really beautiful things that came out of the COVID experience. It was the shift to remote where we didn't really have a choice. We were working from home. Our kids were popping in. A lot of times we're just working when we can, like around our other kids' schedules. I think that's one, the environment shifted. And so we kind of had to shift with it.
Mm.
We had the opportunity to do a lot more, digital, online, remote work. I do think that's part of it. Um, I don't know what else is shifting.
Is it maybe people at a macro level are questioning why? Like, why are they here? And realizing that, you know what, there's a lot more to experience through a balanced life as opposed to over indexing in one way, shape, form, or fashion. They're seeking something that is greater than where they have been. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely seeing that there's a clear divide between these two different types of people, two different types of perspectives. We were on a call yesterday. You know this. We were on a call yesterday with a leader in the industry, and she was writing down her professional goals. And when she was sharing the goals, she put a little caveat in there. She was like, I was writing down my personal goals, or my professional goals, but I couldn't help but also put my personal goals in there because they were directly tied into each other. It was like if she worked on this area, it would directly impact her professional life. And she made that connection on her own. And I was over here smiling, like, yes,
Yeah.
because you and I, when we do our quarterly goals, annual goals, we always do personal and professional together. We look at them both and we spend the same time on both of them.
Which makes me wonder how many of those who are watching or listening, how well do you know what the goals, the personal goals, or the professional goals of others that you work with on a day-to-day basis? How well do you know them? Because I know, like for you, and I
Yeah,
and I have yours written down in my
you do.
journal, and it's a constant reminder of where you're wanting to go, so that I'm at least mindful to help you achieve that or make progress towards that, or hold you accountable and check in to say, hey, what's going on here? How are you feeling? And then it just opens up a real conversation, and it's no one's judging anyone about it. But it was almost like in that discussion yesterday with this particular leader that you're referencing, there were a couple of others that shared similar perspectives. It was part of the Banking on Change boot camp. And one of the things that I think I saw is, and maybe even one of them said this, that they that they've struggled actually they've struggled with goal setting, and they've struggled to try to connect their own personal experience with the professional experience, and the professional experience with the personal experience, and that creates conflict, that creates tension, that creates chaos. And the other point of conflict and chaos, when you're stuck in that cycle, then you see what you saw someone post on LinkedIn, which I was like, wow, I don't know I don't know why, I don't know how um someone would post this, but they posted it, and it made me get really curious because I know this individual. I've talked to this individual. It's like, why would they post what they posted? And what they posted was something along the lines of, can't wait for the weekend, chasing the weekend. It's always the, and I'm like, what if others on your team saw that? What if others in your organization saw that? What, as a leader, a senior leader for that matter, what are you communicating?
So there's like this cultural like thing, I guess, and I've seen it. I've been a part of it. I mean, it was massive when I was a teacher, always around it. But it's like, for lack of better words, the cool thing to do to complain about your job, your employer. Ugh, can you believe we have this other meeting? It's like that's all there is you're almost bonding with people because you share this annoyance with your job, and it's just a vicious cycle. And I've been there 100%. I mean, I opened up saying about how I felt during
Sure.
my first tour. And so have never been immune to this, and I've been there plenty, but I've also been to this other side. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about raising awareness, because that's no way. I don't know. That's just no way to live. I just, if you're going to be complaining constantly and you can't wait to escape your job, if you're ready for that Friday because you need an escape, I would seriously be questioning what I was doing, really and truly. Um, what's the higher purpose here? What are you working towards?
Well, I mean, like, let's be honest. I've had conversations with marketing leaders that have expressed frustration through the coaching that we've done with them. And I'm like, why are you staying? I think about one leader
Yeah.
particularly. I I know she feels she doesn't have a future at her organization, and she's been at this organization for about 15 years. And I'm like, but why? Why not leave? And I I'm going to get fully transparent here. I'm having the same questions myself working in financial services, working with financial brands right now. Like, I'm at an existential crisis of, why am I continuing to do what I am doing when there's such a resistance to change? Because the work that we do requires change. When we go in and we secret shop a website, and we identify gaps in the buying journey, we identify blind spots in the buying journey, and we come back and we say, this is what we found. And it's not our opinion, it's the opinion of the marketplace, it's the opinion of prospective account
Right.
holders. Here's what they shared, and we're just the messenger. It requires change.
Mhm.
When we go in and we do a team alignment workshop as part of a digital growth blueprint, and we identify not just gaps in the buying journey, but also gaps between marketing, sales, and leadership, it requires change. And if people aren't willing to change, if leaders aren't willing to change, why am I still here? I care. I believe financial services is a very noble industry. It can truly make a positive impact on people's lives. It can transform generations, for that matter, going forward into the future. But if you're just showing up, if you don't care, why are you here? Why are you listening? Why are you watching? Because if you've listened to this podcast for a while, if you've watched this podcast for a while, what's changed? I mean, we get comments all the time. I love this episode. I loved what you talked about here. Great. Thanks. What's changed? What are you doing with this? How are you taking action to change something within yourself, within your team, and within your organization? Or are you listening just because you like what you hear? Doesn't inspire change. And I think that is something too that we've recently seen surface. We were facilitating a roundtable, and one of the requirements for the roundtable was to complete a benchmark study, which was completely fascinating. I would say 80% of the people that attended this particular roundtable got a tremendous amount of value out of it. It did help them see different. Even one person posted a perspective on LinkedIn from attending. But then there were some individuals that the other requirement was to become a member of the digital growth community. And you saw some troubling trends here that I want to surface.
Yes, I did. It was interesting. We had several people that joined, were part of a team. 3 or 4 of them on the same team joined together. And one of the requirements for joining the digital growth communities, we just asked a few screening questions, just to get a feel for who you are. And one of the questions we ask is, why are you here? Why do you want to join? And this is the first time this has ever happened, but there were a handful, not just one, there were a handful of people who wrote in their reasons, it was mandatory. I was told to by my supervisor. I had to. And it was just, and it kind of took me back a minute. And I thought, oh, wow, that says something right there. To be that just, I mean, they didn't even say, oh, to learn, to meet people, to connect. Nope, it was mandatory. And it's like, ouch. And I'll be honest with you, James Robert, call me mean or whatever, but I almost just wanted to decline that invite. I mean, I just wanted to be like, nope, next. And just because if you don't want to be here, then I don't want you here.
I think there's two ways, and there's two ways to look at it. One, I appreciate the honesty. Like, at least you're telling the truth. At least you're telling the truth. I mean, because all transformation that leads to future growth starts by telling the truth. And that's one of the reasons that I'm even broaching the subject about my own personal conflict right now. And I'm starting to speak publicly about it. I'll probably speak publicly about it going forward because I'm really, really curious. I mean, maybe we do another conversation that I saw of a leader on LinkedIn. He's been a guest, Casey Ransom. He said he was having a conversation recently with some financial brand leaders about change. And the comments are troubling. I mean, I wrote a book, Banking on Change. But if nothing changes, nothing changes. And I think that's the thing. When you're seeing comments like this, I'm here because I was told to be here. I'm here because my supervisor made me. Well, then the question is that how you feel about what you do on a day-to-day basis? Because if it is, why? Why are you doing what you're doing? Memento mori. I mean, that memento mori, that is one of our 8 ethos for exponential growth. Remember your death. Why? And
Maybe
maybe
they don't know there's another way.
because it's something that you and I talked about on a recent podcast. Maybe it's fear.
Yeah.
Maybe it's they fear leaving what they know. When what they could become could be even better, could be even greater. What they could do could be even better, could be even greater, but they fear leaving what they know. I know that this is something, and I'm curious actually how many are aware of how they might be feeling right now about the work that they're doing as an individual or as a team. And they might be questioning, like, I don't know. I've You're asking a hard question, James Robert, but thank you. You're helping me see something different, Audrey. Thank you. Life's too short.
Exactly.
And I mean, you experienced this yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What you got to a point where you felt like you needed to make a change as a teacher, as an educator. Why'd you change?
You know, it took me a minute to fully accept that I wanted to make a change. Honestly, I think it was kind of a perfect storm of events, and that's why, and deep whatever, I truly believe like there is a bigger plan and a bigger purpose, and this was all meant to be. Just the way it worked out. But I found myself in an environment at a school that just like drained my batteries tremendously up until that point. So I've taught at several different schools and really loved the first few schools that I taught with. Great group, great team, really felt passionate about what I was doing and really felt like I was making a difference. And I transitioned my last few years of teaching to a different school.
Mm.
My goal was it was close to my house and I wanted my kids to go to the school that I taught at and still be with their neighbors. And so I made that shift to this brand new school. The environment was so negative and toxic. I probably would have kept teaching for another, well, who knows how long. I may have stayed teaching, but it was like I wasn't there for a year and a half before I realized I have got to get out of here. This is not a good place for me. I will say I had at least a level of awareness to see the shift. I saw myself go from this really enthusiastic teacher to one who just could not, like, really miserable, like, didn't want to go to school, didn't want to show up. Making it through the day was hard.
Okay.
And I recognized that, and I knew I had to change. I knew that there was no other option for me.
So perhaps hearing that perspective, and once again, I look at things objectively. I don't judge. We all have a different story. We all have a different narrative. And the only way that we can gain clarity is just by simply asking questions. And so hearing your perspective, I think about those individuals that made a comment like, well, I'm just here because my boss told me to be here. What if they are you,
Yeah,
but just a different experience, a different story, similar though. And
yeah.
we
That's a
know,
great point, James Robert. That's a really good point.
and all I can do is just have empathy about that. Like,
If that's the way you feel, and if you can't change your environment, what is that quote? If you can't change your environment, it's you who has to change.
correct.
Uh,
But and here's the thing, like we've done so much, both you and I, personal development, personal growth. And that's been something that I've just made, that's just part of the culture here.
it is.
And it will continue to be. And the integration
I'm so
between
grateful for that.
the spiritual, the mental, the physical, the relational, the financial, they're all interconnected. I've got empathy that hearing your perspective. I mean, I even think, when, and this just rings so true, and you can only measure progress by seeing where you've come from.
Right.
One of your goals, your stated goals of what would make a better path forward for Audrey 4 years ago was to not have to have a glass of wine or two in the evening.
Yes.
And you can think we can laugh about that, but here's the thing. You've been sober how many days at this point? 100 plus?
130.
100, yeah, 130. And it, for no other reason, and because you and I have these conversations of like, and we dabbled with it. You and I dabbled with it about a
Yeah, we
year and a
did.
half ago. But then once we said, you know what? I think I had that experience I've talked about December 13th. I was like, I'm done. I'm re-examining my relationship with alcohol. It's like, unless we stop and pause and review and reflect, and we go up to a macro level about where we've been, where we're at, and where we can go next. I mean, this is the mountain. This is Mount Mutatillo in Banking on Change that I talk about, because when you go up the mountain, you gain awareness. It's the apex of awareness, and you're able to see where you've been, where you're at, and where you could go next. But if we're just so busy doing the rote and the mundane and the repeatable, and we're not taking
Yeah.
time to pause and to question, the future becomes a predictable past based upon the behaviors that we have in the moment that are driven by our belief systems. That's the deeper thing that we're needing to explore, particularly if we're wanting change within ourselves, within our teams, within our organizations. And that's hard work. That's quote unquote deep work right there.
Yeah. And I know that it probably makes some people feel uncomfortable. And I know I've seen this on LinkedIn a lot, where you have some who have particular opinions on what LinkedIn should be used for, strictly business. I don't want to see pictures of your kids, or I don't care what you're doing on the weekend. This is not Facebook. And I understand that. I really do. But all of that, it's so intertwined. It's so much of who we are that I don't believe in that separation like I used to before. I think it's all, I mean, that is who I am. And you know this, but we had a particular client that we were working with, and I was having a little bit of a hard time in the beginning connecting with this person. Just couldn't quite like get to that level of just feeling really uh comfortable, for lack of better words, until we broke the walls down and I started having conversations with this individual about their family. Learned a lot about their family.
Yeah.
And it was like just magical the way things shifted. Man, the respect, the love grew. And I think that happened because we broke those walls down. We shared all about us. Our personal journey, our fitness journey, our spiritual journey, all of that is what fuels me here to be the best that I can here.
I don't know if you consciously heard what you just said, but it comes back to the pyramid of human relationships. You said the respect grew.
Yeah.
And that's the foundation of every positive relationship. It is respect. And I know, once again, it's like, I'm not immune to these struggles. I'm not immune to these challenges.
No.
You and Delina both have encouraged me to be more personal, to speak
Yeah.
more openly, to speak more honestly, particularly on LinkedIn. And so I started sharing, pictures of the family, stories of the family, tying that back to some sort of connection or learning that through the work that we're doing here, or just a leadership lesson. And I was like, I don't know, like I had that wall. I had that wall myself. And but here's the interesting thing. I actually pulled this up, and I've gotten some really private comments. But someone had sent me a DM a couple of weeks ago I notice you've been changing up your LinkedIn posts to include your lovely family. It's a nice example of combining personal brand and professional life.
Oh, I don't think you shared that with me.
I don't think I did either. And like even the lessons that I've been learning from Rick, who I've been doing some sales coaching with, he's like, just be yourself. Just be you.
Well, relationships. I think that as much as we don't want to say it matters, who that person is does make a difference on like whether or not we work with them or not. You and I actually had this really deep conversation about like if let's just say you made some, you know, really terrible mistakes in your personal life. Would I still want to work with you professionally? And it's like we talked about that and had to sit on it. Like, I don't know. I mean, of course, that's your personal life is your personal life, but that's who you are.
Character.
If we think about our values
which
and
which I have.
integrity and
But see, that's
integrity.
the thing. I have made mistakes in my personal life, and I've shared some of those stories with you.
Right.
Because for me, I think there's a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm at a point now of healing
Hmm.
that I can talk about that. That I'm
Right.
willing to have that conversation. That I'm
Well,
willing to say that was a painful time of my life, and here's what I learned from it. And I'm not bound by that negative experience. And so I do think, for example, as a leader, if we're able to share pain from the past, well, guess what? There's probably someone else that directly or indirectly, that is struggling with what you struggled with in the past. And in this particular instance, it struggles with some addictions.
yeah.
I've started to speak more openly about being diagnosed with an autoimmune condition
Yeah.
within the past, really since publishing Banking on Change. But what I think all of this boils down to is we're talking about this here, to loop this back thing full circle, is why are you here? Why are you doing what you're doing? And when was the last time that you questioned that? Really, really question that. And it's like, I, if I think about why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I'm still in financial services, even when I'm questioning, do people even want to change? It's because there's a villain. I've got a villain that I want to help others defeat, which is self limiting mindsets, self limiting beliefs that create a poverty of mind that results in financial stress, that results in financial anxiety. That if we can work together to defeat that as individuals and then as teams and then as organizations, that's how we get better together. There's a villain. And now the way that we're working to defeat that villain right now is by helping financial brands stop losing loans and deposits, because we know that there's an opportunity for financial brands to elevate beyond promoting the same commoditized rates and services that everyone else promotes, and integrate other types of modalities, financial coaching, for example, that offers help, that offers hope. But you can't jump from not having financial coaching to having financial coaching. There's a journey, there's a path of change and transformation that has to happen. And specifically laying out that path, who wants to take that journey, let's guide them. And so it comes down to, we want to work with people who have an innate desire to grow themselves and to help other people grow as well. And that looks at the world around us as from a lens of true abundance and not scarcity, not fear,
Very,
not
yeah.
doubt.
Very, very, very well said. I don't even know that I could add add anything to that. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that I'm glad that you surfaced, what is our greater purpose? What are we wanting to achieve? And that's what I feel so passionately about being here is I just want people to overcome those self-limiting beliefs. You can achieve what you want to. I don't care if it's personally or professionally. Because I know I've been there. I know how it feels. And I feel like I'm just scratching the surface on the other side. And I just want to bring people along with me. Like, let's go. You don't have to stay there. And I've done, and a lot of that is just through, like you said, just being transparent and honest. I mean, I just spoke to a group of 70 plus strangers a couple weeks ago and told them my really, really ugly financial past and story. And yeah, it was personal and not great. Um, but I did it because I just wanted people to know that you're not alone and there's a way out.
But that's
And
part
that
of
we
your
can.
healing. That's part of your own healing process is you're now able to start talking publicly to help others level up there as well. And
Because
so,
it's worth something at that point. Like if not only to be able to help somebody else, it makes all of that, you know, traumatic journey worth it.
yeah,
In my opinion, I'll gladly do that to pass those lessons on to
yeah.
others.
And that's the thing. It's like, if you're watching or listening to this and you're connecting and you're resonating with what we're sharing, you don't have to do this alone. We have the digital growth community. There's over 350 other financial brand leaders that have joined the community that are learning, connecting, growing together. Come be a part of that. It's easy to join. Just text us 415-579-3002 and we'll help get you in there. And then you can continue to learn. You can continue to grow both personally as well as professionally. Before we wrap up here, Audrey, what would you recommend for those watching or listening? What's one thing that they can do next if they're questioning now? Like, why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Because I haven't thought about that in a while. What should I do next?
I would recommend that they do something similar when you and I first connected, when I or first reconnected when I was still a teacher, and you just asked me, like, you did the leap ahead. What do you want? What do you want your life to be like a year from now, 3 years from now? And I was, look, I wanted flexibility, time. I didn't want to have to come home and drink a glass of wine because I was so exhausted. Identified what I wanted, and then took that time. Okay, can I get there where I'm at now? What do I have to do? How do I have to change to get to that point? Is it me? Is it the environment? Is it my organization? But just get clear.
It's
Where's that? What
clarity.
balance are you looking for? And do something. Take action. You don't have to stay stuck.
Yeah,
Memento mori, like you said.
when you're dealing with fear, when you're dealing with uncertainty, when you're dealing with doubt, the best way to pluck the FUD, if you will, is take action, take action, take action, but get real clear, get the clarity. And
Mhm.
maybe frame this up even a little bit further for and build upon your thought there, Audrey, is imagine that we're having a conversation. It's a year from now. I want you to leap ahead in your mind, live in that moment, live in that future moment, and then come back to today. But leap ahead first and live in that future moment. Have a sip of coffee if you like coffee. Have a sip of your cocktail if you're going to drink a cocktail. But leap ahead, live in the future state, and write down everything that needs to happen between now until then over the course of the next year for you to feel good about your continued growth, both personally and just take a piece of paper, put a line down, and put one side is going to be personal, one side is going to be professional. Set a timer. Give yourself 3 minutes on your personal, give yourself 3 minutes on your professional, and just be honest. All transformation that leads to future growth starts by telling the truth. Leap ahead and then look back and then come back. And then it's like, I've got real clarity into what my future could look like. And what are all the roadblocks right now? Write those down. And then what are the
Yeah.
opportunities to transform those obstacles into opportunity so that you keep moving forward and making progress towards that future state, those future goals. You might find that you need to change. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. You're going to be the exact same place you are today as you are a year from now. but it doesn't have to be that way. As you're talking about your own personal story, I'm in that same process of continued transformation and continued growth. And once again, you've got the community. I would love for you to be a part of that if you're watching, listening. This connects and resonates. Audrey, this has been so much fun. Thanks for sharing your own personal perspective here. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Yes.
As always, and until next time, be well, do good, and be the light.